You mentioned Pep Guardiola and Jose Mourinho. You're obviously a football man. What are the traits that they carry as leaders, as coaches, as specialists in their field that you buy into and you try to put into your work on a day-to-day basis?
Well, if I can go through the managers that I idolize, Alex Ferguson. He was the boss. He controlled the environment. So even when he was close to retirement age, even if he did less coaching, it was still his coaching, his environment. Nobody was more important than Alex Ferguson. Nobody was more important than the club. And he also brought in a big youth push. He reinvented the scouting system and he went in there for the long haul. People forget when Alex Ferguson went to United, that 89 season, City beat them 5-1 in September 1989. I remember it because it was one of the best days of my life. And that year, City and United finished 14th and 15th, right? 1990. 2 years later, they won a Premier League or the Cup Winners' Cup, one or the other, or maybe even a year later. And it just went from there. People forget how low United were. Alex Ferguson got hold of that club and he wanted to manage the whole club. He didn't just manage the team, he managed the club. Brian Clough, one of the most famous quotes on clips of Brian Clough is him speaking to one of his players who was going to take a free kick or whatever. And he says, I don't pay you to do that. I pay you to put the ball in there. And he spoke to him in really plain terms. Brian Clough was all about taking away the confusion from the players, and he kept things simple. And he also had a genius personality. He was funny and players wanted to play for him and all that kind of thing. But he cared about the players. Jose Mourinho, I think he was always somebody I idolised because, like me, he didn't have a deep playing career. He was a PE teacher turned coach, PE teacher turned translator turned coach, right? And he, again, people like to forget about this when they see Klopp and Pep Guardiola on the sideline. Jose Mourinho reinvented the sport a little bit. He came to England and, well, first of all, he took Porto to the Champions League, which is like taking Southampton to the Champions League, something like that. He came to Chelsea and the dynasty was Arsenal and United. United and Arsenal were basically trading titles for a couple of years. And he won the league with Chelsea quite comfortably over both of them and then did it again. So the average points per year went up, right? Pep Guardiola and Jurgen Klopp have done that with their sides now. You need to win about 100 points, don't you, to win the Premier League title now. But Jose actually moved it up then. So Ferguson, again, another reason why I love Fergie, which is really bad for a City fan. But he had to reinvent himself again to get over the top of Jose again. But Jose was the outsider who got in kind of thing, and football accepted him. I think Pep and Jurgen Klopp, I think at this stage in my life, I've done that much studying and of coaches and all this kind of thing. A lot of what Jurgen Klopp and Pep do, I've seen in Mourinho and Clough and Ferguson. But I do like how Pep is so detailed. I do like how he's so demanding. I do like how I've seen City score a goal and he's still berating one of his players for something in the build-up. I also believe he's an absolute gem of a bloke. And I think the players love playing for him. Jurgen Klopp, I think he's the kind of person who could be a CEO of a company and use those principles. He has galvanised Liverpool And what he's done is tapped into the old spirit of Shankly and the like, and got the fans behind him. There are signs that some of that might be wobbling a little bit, but that's, you could have said that about Pep as well. Pep's had his wobbles as well. But the definite, I've said it before, Jose, Alex Ferguson and Brian Clough. And don't doubt how much of those people are in Jurgen Klopp and Pep, because they will have studied them big time, I would have thought.
So as a high performance coach, simple question. So Alex Ferguson, Brian Clough, Jose Mourinho, who's the best?
I'm still Ferguson, mate. I'm still Ferguson because of how long he did it for. Jose still is seen as that 3-year man, isn't he?
Yeah.
And coaches like that, and I've got to be honest, I've got to fight that a little bit. I did 5 years at a big high school up here, and I left the job. I went to see the boss. I said, I'm done emotionally, because I'd gone so hard for 5 years. I'd just done too. I was drained. I was gone. Jose's got that in him. There's no proof yet that Pep has got longevity in him. There's not. Jurgen Klopp did a long stint at Dortmund, so I think he's got a bit of proof in that regard. But Ferguson usurps them all. I mean, a quarter of a century at one organisation, and I think the big telling factor about Ferguson's impact is where the club has gone since he stepped down.
Yeah,
he was the man, and I think he controlled everything to the point where I think referees were also almost in awe of him. He was that much of he was the boss. He was the absolute boss for me. Brian Clough, I think, was a genius, but also a flawed genius as well. And the last few years of his coaching career weren't glittering. He ended up with Forest getting relegated, and obviously in his personal life with his alcoholism and stuff like that. So Brian Clough for a couple of years there. I don't think Ferguson would have liked coaching against him for those 3 years. But the reason I love Fergie is he's seen them all off. He's seen them all off. He saw Jose off. He saw Wenger off, and all the others. Whoever fancied a shot at the title, he saw them off. And that takes something. That's something I really admire about him. And if you listen to his players, how they talk about him, there's not many who say nasty things about him. Very small percentage. What Jose does a lot is he gets the kind of players he wants in, whereas I think Alex Ferguson as well has moulded several different types of team. His teams played different kinds of football over the years, and he evolved, and that is huge.